What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Worker Bee Podcast. This is episode 10, and as you can see, we've launched.
We have finally launched.
We have officially launched the Hive Brands after thousands of times of filling up the whiteboard and
thousands of cups of coffee.
Almost hundreds of thousands of cups of coffee. We finally made it. We have released the company and merch is out. It's all for sale. Go ahead and shop away.
Website looks awesome.
Yep. Donating to the bees, donating to different charities. We're doing what we dreamed about, which is really cool. It's really cool.
It's really cool seeing this all put together, and this is just an A1 thing that we're doing. Top notch for sure.
And that being said, today's episode we're going to be introducing Andy from Geraldi's. Geraldi's of Fayetteville, Arkansas, and we're going to be chatting with him about the coronavirus, about his business, and where he got to where he is now. So
absolutely so excited to have him on, man. It's going to be a great time. We're going to learn a lot from him, and hopefully, it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and start it off.
Yep.
Welcome, everyone. Another episode, Worker Bee Podcast, and we're here today with Andy Tabor, who is the owner of the Fayetteville Geraldi's, and we're going to be talking with him, asking him some questions. Okay, so what's a roadblock when you first bought the Geraldi's in Fayetteville? It is in a certain location where it's kind of like a mom and pop cafe kind of sort of thing.
Yes.
What was some of the things that you ran into while trying to renovate and fix it up?
Well, there's a funny story. In the very beginning, this wasn't that bad, but I mean, this was kind of funny. So this used to be a laundromat where we were. And so they had the ginormous electrical boxes inside. And I wouldn't even know if they were called electrical boxes. They'd probably call them something else. I don't know. But they were freaking huge. And so when we walked in the first day, Mr. Geraldi said, he goes, "What do you think of the space?" I was like, "It's crap." I was like, I don't think we should be here. Let's go do something else. Turnkey, walk in, start making money. He goes, "No, there's potential in here." I was like, "Really?" So I walked over to the box and I go, "What is this thing?" I mean, it looked like Frankenstein-ish, and it had big handle on the side. Well, I opened the door, there's a dead cat inside.
Really?
Yeah, and I went, I don't know that we're going to do well with this with this spot. But I don't know. I guess being off of Dixon, you had to learn the process of getting people down to you that didn't know where you were.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we don't advertise. This podcast right here might be the most advertising I've ever done in Fayetteville.
You heard it here. Worker Bee Podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, we had to depend on word of mouth. Mm-hmm. And so if you guys were kids, but if you lived here 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we had this duck pond across the street from us. Mm-hmm. And so they were renovating the apartments. The apartments were nice. They're very nice now. Mm-hmm. And so they were renovating the apartments. I remember clearly I was washing dishes. It was like maybe our first 3 weeks of being open. And I swear a plane hit the building. There was a massive explosion.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy crap, what was that?
Yeah.
And I ran outside, and I saw Mr. Geraldi starting to slowly, it was like in a movie scene. It was incredible. Yeah. He starts slowly running across the parking lot towards this massive thing on fire. The apartments were on fire, and there was an explosion. A gas line got hit, and there was this massive explosion. So, I'm Superman, so I took off my apron and I started running across the street like I'm going to do anything, But anyway, I stopped him from running across. He's 80, I was like, all right, enough, So I got up there. I thought we were going to find some people dead. There was no one hurt, amazingly. It was incredible. Yeah. And they finally got the fire settled down 4 or 5 hours later. I mean, it was really blazing. Mm-hmm. Well, all the people that were in that apartment complex had nowhere to go. And so they all funneled down to Geraldi's. Mm-hmm. And so we made some nice coffee, had a couple of meals. We gave away some food. Honestly, really cool. we gave the food away because we felt bad. I mean, we didn't know the what was going to happen after that. Yeah. But what happened was we became the little neighborhood Italian mom and pop restaurant off of that. Yeah. And it really turned into something. And so then the folks that lived there said, "Oh, you should try Geraldi's. It's kind of nice." And then we were really moved by it. It was incredible. It was really nice. So that's again, really cool. The community was really, really super supportive.
Yeah, out of a bad situation, you guys actually that was your point where you kind of turned for the better.
Yeah, I remember really walking. Cool. So we're walking back, and the fire is hot on our backs, and we're walking back, and he goes, Mr. Geraldi looks at me, and goes, "God, I feel like we're in the born supremacy, right?
And especially for having, a restaurant that's been in the business in Fayetteville for 10 plus years, you said it was a straight jump off from the jump that it started getting business.
I'll tell you how. So we opened in about 6 other places in Arkansas before we did Fayetteville. Mm-hmm. And we knew the university was here. We knew that if we came over, we had a good chance of it being popular. Mm-hmm. Pizza and sandwiches and subs and garlic bread. I mean, how wrong can that be for college students?
Yeah, everyone knows that.
and their families, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a chance it was going to do well. And so about 7 or 8 years into being in business in Arkansas, we said, all right, let's take a shot over in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
And we found this little rundown building. Honestly, it was run down, and asked the guy if we could renovate it for him. And if he'd let us be rent-free for a year, we would renovate the whole building, and then we would open a good business in there. And that's how that happened. And so
it was really cool. You did a lot of the contracting for that building, right?
We did all of the building inside. Really? We don't do electrical and we don't do plumbing. Those are our 2 things we do not do. We do all of the building. Who can't paint? Everybody can paint, but we do everything else.
I guess in general, what are some ups and downs of owning a local business?
Okay, so we could talk about Fayetteville specifically. Let's talk about it during coronavirus and before coronavirus, if that's cool. So during coronavirus, there is no other city I'd rather live in than Fayetteville.
So true.
They really have a thing about taking care of locals, taking care of local businesses, mom and pop places that these people have been visiting since their kids were little. Now their kids are in high school. That has been awesome. They've given us so much support and helped us out. Really, we probably would have closed by now if the locals hadn't said, hey, let's rally around Geraldi's, let's rally around Hugo's, whatever the local businesses are, they've really helped, and that's been awesome. Before Corona, you had a few ups and downs. So everybody loves Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue.
Right.
And it's an awesome thing for Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Not an awesome thing to be a restaurant owner in that time, unless you're on Dixon. No big deal. I like Bikes Blues. I actually take a 3-day, 4-day weekend when they're coming on because I know I don't need to be in business on those days.
Yeah.
It's so quiet for us. And if there was a way for us to tap into that, we'd probably do a lot better, but we just haven't figured it out yet. But really, it's, you're subject to what sporting events are going on in town during that time. If football's going on, we're going to be dead until the football game is over. When the football game is over, we're going to be hammered. Yeah. So, you can staff a little bit based on when the games are going to be. It's really funny. So that's kind of how Fayetteville rolls.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about other businesses you've had, it can be anything from environmental to, cash flow in the area at the time. And we have kind of moved. Typically what we do is we'll move with the country where it's going to be busy. And I know that sounds funny to say that, but we were in New York, and we went from New York to Portland, from Portland to Florida to here. And I have met probably 4 or 5 folks that have made the same exact moves that we have made, which is so weird. And really in the same timing because they're following the trend or following the business.
Yeah.
So Fayetteville 5-6 years ago was really hitting. We beat it just before it. It was really nice, And I still think it's going to grow, and I think it's going to get a lot bigger here, actually.
Yeah.
And Bentonville would be the same thing. If we popped one up there, I think we'd do okay.
Absolutely.
But then if I started thinking of future and I wanted to look a little further out, maybe Colorado Springs, just south of Denver, something like that would be kind of cool. Or you could even go down south if you wanted to go. You've got Birmingham, and then you've got there's some little towns Birmingham's big, Huntsville not so big, but now it's getting bigger with tech and things like that. So you kind of want to follow the money, which is nice. And we're not we don't mind moving. It really doesn't bother me, and we'll move around a little bit if that's what it takes. And but we found a home here in Fayetteville, so we've been here a long time now.
Yeah.
It's the longest I've ever lived anywhere besides New York. We've lived here, I think, 15 years or so now. So,
what advice would you have for new businesses coming to the Fayetteville area, or just going to a place like Fayetteville or Portland or some place like that?
I would say right off the bat, I could give advice on restaurant, and I would tell you right off the bat, I would not buy new. Buy everything used, because you never know if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And it's not your fault if you don't make it. Sometimes it is your fault. But really, I'm all about trying something, and then if you fail, pick yourself up and do it again. Figure out what you did wrong. Try to do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I've always maintained keep the customers first.
Yeah.
And that's that's the old adage, the customer's this. But it is so true. If you treat the customers like they are your family, they will return. And so like you give them the respect, they return the respect. That's what I would say. Anybody starting a business, remember your customers are number one. After that, good location. You got to have decent equipment, but don't buy new. That would be the biggest mistake. Yeah, it's just it can be. I mean, once you're in it and you're making money, go ahead and buy something new. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But save your money in the beginning for sure. Well, at 19 years old, I learned from the old man that I started with. His name's Albert Geraldi, and so he taught me at 19 years old that if you're going to be in business, you better be prepared to just listen to the customer. Heck, they might have great ideas one time, or 20 times, or 100 times.
Yeah.
And if they have great ideas, you can listen to them, and always be open to changing. If something works and it's going along and it's going well for you, and someone says, I would do it this way, and I'd go, okay. I could be arrogant and say, thanks for the advice, or I could listen and be open and then go, okay, this actually might help.
Yeah.
There was a guy that used to come into our restaurant here in Fayetteville, and he said to me, this was, I guess, 6 or 7 years ago, and that's when our business really changed out here. It went from good to doing really well for us out here.
Yeah.
And he said to me, I have to tell you, and he was kind of a friend, he said, I really love your business. Your food is really good. You guys are really nice to the customers. He goes, your service at the table is terrible. And at first I was like, could kiss my ass. No. That's fine, it's all right, But it took me about 20 minutes to let go of the anger a little bit, and then I went, I have to think about this, and so I thought on it, and he was dead on, and he was right.
Yeah.
And we gave terrible customer service as far as that end of the business went. And so we shifted a couple of things and started to work in a better process at the table, starting to sell wine, starting to learn about wines, starting to take care of the customer instead of just getting through the night, And wow, did it change our business. I mean, we like the customers like to come in and sit down and talk to our waitresses now. That's one of the things they enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have literally bled your heart and soul into Geraldi's. Was there like a certain time when you knew you were committed to it, or like what was the sign for you that you wanted to stick with this?
Probably, so I started at 19. I guess by the time I was 24, 25, I knew I didn't go to college. I went for a year. It just wasn't for me. Found out that I could make some decent money working at a business like this. I wasn't killing it back then. I was doing okay. So probably by 25, 26, I was like, okay, I can actually have a family, have a decent house, live a decent life, comfortable by running these restaurants, and then started to see at about 30, if I stick with this for a while, we could do really well.
So we've got a pizza cooking in the oven right now from Geraldi's. I can smell it, and it's time to go eat that sucker. So
yeah, absolutely. I'm ready.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Work Bee podcast. Thank you for joining us, Andy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we'll go eat that pizza now. So we'll see you guys later. I'm Andrew.
I'm Brett.
And that was another episode.
Yeah.